Good morning, everybody. I assume this is all working and you can hear us. I suppose we didn't really expect all that at the opening because we're just Emer and Attracta here from Graham to share with you how we've started to tackle this transformation into building a more inclusive and diverse culture in the sector. Now, I've got a script because if I don't have that, I won't stick to time. And I've got glasses so I can see my script because I'm at that stage. So I'm going to put the glasses on and then click the clicker and we'll get going. Plan the case. There we go. Here we are. And that's us. So, growing inclusive culture. I think it's amazing to be here and I'm delighted to the CITB for, I think what Barry says is convening it. But I know really the work that's been done behind the scenes is the Women in Construction Network. So thank you for this invitation to share what we're doing at Graham. Before we start, I'd like to share with you something that we've learned from Highways England, who are one of our main clients. Highways England start all their meetings with a health, safety and wellbeing moment. It reinforces the imperative that we should look out for each other. This is something that we're trying to replicate across the Graham business. So for a moment, let's just think ocean. I'm not going to read it all out, but it's about openness. It's about consenting. It's about empathy. It's about affirmation. And it's about new ideas. Strange as it may seem, it's often the simple things that make most impact. Giving people a voice. And I think we've heard that mentioned earlier today. This is not rocket science, and neither is equality, diversity, and inclusion. But it is better for your business. So how are we tackling this transformation at Graham? I've included these next few slides, not just to do a big boast for Graham, that's not what this is about, but it's trying to set the context of the business and the size of the business and the reach of the business. So at group level, we have over 2,200 employees, and last year our turnover was 735 million. And you see my hand shaking, but I'm trying to be calm. There are 3 limited companies within the group, and Attracta and I both work for Graham Construction. I've included this next slide to show our strategic planning cycle, which is top down and bottom up. You see the way the arrows go on the far side of that slide. From the shareholders and the executive team who set the strategic direction, through the various company boards who develop the implementation plans, through to the senior management teams, and on to the various functional and support teams. All Graham people are involved. You might ask why I'm giving you all this corporate info stuff, you know, what's she on about up there? But implementing our approach to EDI, or what we call FAIR, Fairness, Inclusion and Respect, follows this same approach, just like any other business improvement initiative. So if you want to tackle change, you put it into your business strategic cycle. Our vision at Graham is to be the employer of choice. Everybody's going to say that, to be the go-to partner. But our ambition is to do more than just deliver infrastructure projects. We aspire to deliver a positive, lasting impact. And we'll not do that without people who reflect the society in which we work and who can easily connect with our stakeholders. And so growing a diverse and inclusive culture has become one of our business imperatives. So we've shown in the earlier slide that top-down, bottom-up approach. And this is how we're embedding fairness, inclusion and respect across the business. So the first thing we did was to learn from others already on the journey. What do? You find out who's best or who's better at doing this. You look for the best practice and you learn fast. So what have I to do here? Double click. Click twice. So we looked outside the sector because we know as a sector we're not really very good at this. And we listened and learned from Nick Marr, who was from the London Met. So in his earlier life, he helped introduce the EDI strategy and implementation plan in London Met.
Just one time. You're going to see a rise in demand from, say, the government to only award contracts to companies that are reflective of the population that they serve. So fur is almost like a necessity. It's a wake-up call. So you'll see with fur better retention rates, happier staff, and increases in productivity. There's some really outstanding work that Graham's doing. I just feel that you need to turn up the volume a little bit on your activity. People will get to know that this is the type of organisation Graham is, but ultimately, you're going to start winning contracts on the way you guys are.
So who wouldn't want to do that? And that thing that Nick says at the end there, turn up the volume. And if we want to do anything when we leave here today, we want to turn up the volume in this. So what did we do? Okay, so we're getting into the nerdy stuff here, and this is what you're here to find out, how to implement this into your business. So we developed a FIR charter, affirming our commitments to the people who work with us. We developed a FIR strategy and an implementation plan. You're going to get all these slides, so I'm not going through everything that you see on each slide. And we developed a bespoke FIR toolkit to be rolled out on all our projects. A how-to guide. Don't assume that people know how to do this. They don't, otherwise it would be done. So we need to give them the tools to do the job. So it's that a how-to guide, and maybe you can see at the bottom there's a built-in audit process. And that's not unusual in business either. How do you know if it's successful? How do you know it's working? You measure it. It's that old adage, if you're not measuring, then you're not managing. So such initiatives help us to develop an inclusive culture. So this is right at site level, just that little scenario that you saw, though I'm kind of hoping that's a thing of the past, to build the momentum around respect and dignity at work. This is important, as feeling included develops loyalty and, importantly, retention. But before the retention bit, how do we do the attract and recruitment? How do we get that diverse workforce in the first instance? As before, we asked for help. You're going to hear this from me a lot today. And learn from the experts, particularly around unconscious bias. So if someone is standing here today and telling you that they have thousands in your workforce and less than 100 females, there's something going on that's more than just women don't want to be in this space. There is something called unconscious bias and perhaps conscious bias. I know Joanne's going to talk about that later, so I'm going to leave that a little bit to her. So it's why it's crucial that you track and measure the outcomes of the various attraction and recruitment streams within your business. So even when you get the unconscious bias training, you still need to measure and I suppose assure yourself that it's not happening. Because people don't realise, but it's easy to recruit people who look and feel and sound and speak, and you read their CV and they've had the same life journey that you've had. But if we've heard something else this morning, it's that diversity brings richness and innovation, and who doesn't want that in their organisation? So we've redesigned our family-friendly policies for parents and carers, because that's an important role, and we're starting to adopt a flexible working approach by default. So it was always there, and you could always maybe ask for it. You probably had to put a business case forward for it, but actually now we're looking at that and said, can this job be done flexibly in order to tackle some of the barriers to attraction of the diverse workforce into the industry? Okay, so that attraction piece, have a look at your website, get somebody to look at your website, look at that brand awareness. What does it look like? So we've redesigned our website so that it reflects the changing diversity of our people, as well as the variety of our projects. Lynn Carville, who's here today from Women's Tech, several years ago she said to me, you cannot be what you cannot see. So make sure, and can I also reassure you that we haven't photoshopped anybody into this. One of the things, there was word earlier about integrity, and I make sure that every photograph that we put up is somebody in our business. And now we're working again with external help on gender decoders, blind CVs. The words that we use to recruit have a huge impact on attraction. And we're rolling out unconscious bias training, which was initially for recruiters right across the business to help. What are we doing then for the people who have already done that unconscious bias? We're at that next level. We're doing that inclusive leadership training. So it's an evolving journey. But why do we bother? Why should we bother? The business case is already well researched. So you've heard about McKinsey, Ernst & Young, Deloitte. Look it up. There's loads. In fact, what frustrates me is if we know the business case is there, all these clever people who run our businesses, why aren't they just embracing this? This is the silver bullet that we are offering business. Diversity is good for your business. So as well as being the good thing to do and the right thing to do, our key infrastructure clients are starting to mandate EDI through their procurement routes. So I'm going to mention Highways England, Network Rail and HS2 to name but a few. Furthermore, these clients don't accept slick tender narratives. That's not what they're about. They've cottoned onto this. They want evidence and they're auditing progress through the delivery periods. So we admit that client alignment is indeed a key driver to accelerating our progress within Graham. But you can imagine that personally, I'm delighted. So bring it on. So let me share some of the results. Every 2 years, we hold a workforce engagement survey. It's hosted independently by investors and people. We've actually a live IIP survey ongoing at the minute. This slide shows our last set of results. Probably some of the things I need to tell you is that we had a survey response of over 70%, so we're confident of the validity of this information. And we're delighted and reassured that the work being done to recruit, develop and retain our staff is yielding excellent results. So you might want to know how and where do we all get started with this, because we're probably maturing on this journey. So we're not at the beginning, but we're starting to really embed it and make it work. What gave us the confidence to really start transforming the diverse nature of our business? You won't be surprised to hear that we've learned from others. We looked to see with whom we could partner and to better understand our lack of gender diversity. We're recommended to get involved in WISE, Women into Science and Engineering, and particularly the WISE 10 Steps framework. It's easy, it's a self-assessment tool, and will help change the gender diversity of your business. That's all assuming that you want to act on the findings. We've been using the WISE 10 Steps approach for 5 years and can demonstrate year-on-year improvement. But how does this translate into people? So whilst we started with gender, thinking it would be the easiest underrepresented group to improve, we've broadened our approach to diversity to include other groups with protected characteristics, liaising with Stonewall and Disability Confident. Our next target is to improve the ethnicity of our staff, to reflect the diversity of the communities in the regions in which we work across the UK and Ireland. I can just get this page turned. An interesting and unexpected result came from some of the benchmarking work that we were doing with Highways England. And it wasn't actually something that we'd sort of been aware of or picked up, but they came back to us and said you have a very high level of employee personal disclosure rate around the protected characteristics. So it's at 95%, and the industry average is 50%, so that's really significant. And it's important because there's a strong link between an inclusive culture and a high disclosure rate, where employees trust us with their very personal information, where they feel free to be themselves. And we know that inclusion and retention are totally linked. So this gives us yet further confidence in our approach. So we can confidently say we are a very inclusive culture, and now we need to work on diversifying that culture. Just before I hand over to Attracta, because she's itching to get go here, I want to share with you again what we're doing to drive this agenda forward, because not to repeat Belinda, but probably to reinforce what she said, it's about learning from others, look and see who's better at this than you are, and ask them how they're doing, how they're performing. So that's what we do. We're involved with Highways England Supplier Diversity Forum, and actually we've helped them. So don't underestimate yourselves either. We've helped them to develop their benchmarking tool. So if any of you are sweating that Highways England benchmarking tool, I hope you've noticed improvements in the last couple of years. We're also involved in a pan-transport industry group with the aspiration of that standardising that diversity monitoring across the sector. Now this would be a huge leap. For one, because we'd only be completing the same stuff once, one set of data collected in the same way, the same metric. So it's not only an improvement in efficiency, but in truly understanding the demographics of our industry. Because if everybody's measuring different things or in a slightly different way, then we can't really see what's happening. So we're working hard to push that forward. You can imagine that it's quite challenging to bring all those different organisations together. So I would encourage you to learn and share with others, just as we're doing here today. So it's super to see this and hear this today. It's the best way of fast-tracking your progress and perhaps leapfrogging the competition. The outcome is a diverse, inclusive and more resilient business. So I'm going to hand over to Attracta.
Okay,
thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, am I taking? Are you?
Yeah, no, that's fine now, thank you. Okay, so, well, I look after the kind of project part of it. I'm just going to return to Emer's slide there just for 1 second. So Emer's talked about the first half of this down there. I come in at the community benefits team side of it and looking after the rollout on the project of FIR. So what that means for our FIR is really making sure it's accessible to everybody on the site, everybody understands what it is, and we have different ways and formats of doing that. But what I'm actually going to talk about a little bit more today is more to do with bisocial, because bisocial is one of the employability requirements on the sites. For anybody that doesn't know what bisocial is, bisocial is about providing opportunities for targeted recruitment for the long-term unemployed or people who are removed from the workplace or at risk of social exclusion. We started in 2016 with the Ulster Hospital when bisocial started on the pilot, and 4 projects later we're on the Belfast Hub Enabling Project, which is our 4th bisocial project. So what we thought we'd do today was just let you know a little bit about kind of what we do in terms of recruitment, attracting, recruiting and retaining through bisocial. So the first step for us really was to say, well, who are the long-term unemployed? And, you know, what do they need and what barriers are they facing for unemployment? So what we did then was the first step's kind of working with the experts in the community who do work with these job seekers to overcome particular barriers to employment. So Emer's talked about kind of the protective characteristics of the women's tech, maybe disability action coming in with that. But what we learned as well throughout this project was there's a whole diverse range out there as well of considerations for us as employers. So we're just going to give you a few of these examples going through here. I'm sorry, just to mention on that slide there as well. For 2 of the projects that we had, one of the requirements was for care experienced individuals. So through both the trusts, there would have been one example of the diverse requirements. Okay, so what we did then to try and look at these in partnership with those organisations and a few wider organisations, I just picked out a few. First of all, we got to know really the job seekers themselves. We worked with the organisations to really listen to what it was that they were interested in. Rather than us coming in saying we've got these jobs for you, we were actually listening to what is it that you need or that you want to do. This helps us then to provide opportunities that are relevant for the individuals. So the example we have there in the top left is a digital construction workshop that we put on for the individuals who felt that they didn't know what direction they were going in, but they did have an interest in IT, gaming, that kind of thing. So that was an example of what we did there. Retaining people. We also worked then with the employability providers themselves. We found out that when we were working with the group, a lot of these groups, for some of them, they were well established in construction. They knew exactly what they were doing. They were putting forward good people, people who were job ready, all the rest. But for a lot, it was maybe their first interaction with construction, so they didn't quite know what they were selling to people as well, and didn't quite realise the range of options that were out there for different people. So part of our engagement with the community then was to widen those perspectives, like let them know the range that was out there, so they could increase their pool of putting people forward for different things. In terms of retaining, we also understood that where there were maybe stereotypes of what construction typically was for providers, there were also stereotypes within the industry of what the target groups might be as well. There were certain stereotypes out there of priority groups or who they might be. So for us as well, it was very important that we learned more about this. So the picture that's up there then on the top right is about us learning. We delivered training. We got delivered training from Include Youth to help us with mentoring practices, particularly around the care experienced individuals that was targeted towards it. So again, that's helped benefit us and help with retention when the people come on board, that we're not just assuming all these barriers and challenges disappear as soon as you start work, but we're helping to ease that process for them. So through all our kind of engagement, the engagement's very different for the different organisations that we work with. Again, in terms of capacity, in terms of what's already been delivered, in terms of getting people job ready. And I guess it can range a lot from just site visits, for example, there at the bottom right with the women's tech, whereas we brought in some different role models who were working in construction in different areas, and they were really designed to kind of, again, be aware of the different roles that were out there. But we've also, it goes from kind of light touches to in-depth programs as well, where we work very closely with the employability providers to maybe deliver the different skills that are necessary over a longer term program as well. So moving on, our supply chain, 80% of our business is delivered through our supply chain. So they're very, very much an integral part of our bi-social strategy on the sites. So again, their interaction kind of, again, echoes what we've just said before with the different learning opportunities and the different types of things that are going on. The delivery of insights into their particular trades and the progression routes within their trades as well opens up a whole new area. We're getting an increasing number of role models who are coming through, and then they're inputting onto these programs as well, and these insight opportunities in there as well. So we also have a number of outreach opportunities that our supply chain assist us with when we're doing community engagement activities. And these also give an opportunity for the supply chain to be able to understand the client group as well, to see them in their environment, to see what they're doing and the benefits and the great things that are coming through with them as well. So that gives them a little insight. So again, below you know, it's not always about the job at the end of the day, but it's about helping with employability processes as well. So, for example, the delivery of pallets, you know, to help with joinery courses, help us to understand a little bit more about what's going on in terms of the great work there as well. The top right picture is meals for the homeless that we provided, that also a supply chain were able to engage with and learn a little bit more about the target group there as well. So bottom right, it's very important to celebrate success as well. And when things go right and when people are there in place and happy, it's great to celebrate. And a lot of people are involved in that celebration as well, I know. So this is from the Ulster Hospital, the first Bisocial Award. An individual that was very prominent in there as a role model is on a video link that I'm not going to play, but it is on the link there. And he was through Vaughan's Engineering, and Anita is here today as well as one of our supply chain. But you see there's the client, the contractor, the individual themselves, the supply chain, everybody's involved in the success of that. And the very last one, I know am I getting my 5 minutes on? I'm not looking. And I guess then this, because we have all these things in place, it's given us a little bit more confidence to kind of go out and explore different things and explore what might work and what could work and various things that, you know, just looking outside the box a little bit. So just very briefly, 2 examples then of how this has worked for us. The jam card, which I don't have there, but that's the jam card, I don't know if you're aware, is a little credit-sized card that if somebody has communication difficulties, they can discreetly hold up to a service provider, and that will let them know that they just demonstrated. So it's just a wee card like that, and on the back it might have, I've got learning communication difficulties, something like that. So we've a long-standing association with the Now Group, who developed this card. We were the first construction company to be trained and to sign up for it. And this has been of great benefit to us. We've been able to provide work placements. We've been able to get a brilliant pool of talent through this association as well. And we've also learned, it's also been a learning for us that this is great for all forms of communication to everybody, you know, so it's really informed the way we communicate lots of different things around the site as well for all employees. And then the second picture then is a collaboration with the School of Psychology. We were based down at the Belfast City Hospital. School of Psychology was our nearest neighbours. We were kind of thinking we have nothing in common. And then we looked at the concept of, well, people. Construction's about people. Psychology is about people, of course. No, there's a great connection there. So we developed a research project around health and well-being on the site. The student fed into that, did a little mini study, and we were able to establish, was the initiatives that we were doing, were they effective? Could we do it better? Are there other things that we could be doing? So again, that was a great kind of collaboration for us that worked well when we looked a little bit outside of the box as well there. And, yeah, let's go. There's some links there, and I'm done. So you go ahead there.
Thanks. Attracta's just giving you those links that you can look on later. And probably just stand up there. What we want to say is our last word doesn't come from us. It comes from Dave Brown, who's our highways director. Because what we need in this is inclusive leaders. So it's people who walk the talk. It's very easy for us all to rock up at things like this. It's very easy for us to write it. It's much more challenging to do it. And we're very proud of Dave Brown. So he's speaking at the National Inclusion Week for Highways England in 2018. So just going to give him 10 seconds.
2 seconds.
And I need to double click.
I'd just like to say what does it actually mean for me personally, and that is that it's to treat everyone fairly, to treat everyone with respect, and to walk in their shoes, to put yourself in their place.
That's it. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Not too bad.
Well,